Oh, we got a new clutch. So we're gonna crack this open. And then, are these mine or yours, Kyle?
Those are yours.
These are mine. Okay, we're gonna open these up too as we prepare to spend another weekend working on the cart. So here's our new clutch. This is a Caht 780 series. The previous one was a 40 series, and this one is designed for use with a 1 3/16 belt, which is what we have. And I got this one from Caht Parts Plus, and from what I could tell, 780 just describes the actual series of the clutch as opposed to
Wasn't me.
780 just describes the series of the clutch as opposed to being a part number for a specific one. So I wasn't sure if this was one of those things where it's like 780 is all the same or not. This one I paid, this was $249 and it was like $30 shipping. You can get this on Amazon for like $209 with free shipping, but I wasn't sure if it was the same one. I saw a couple different ratings as far as like RPM engagement and that sort of thing. So I figured this one was a little bit more money, but it's supposedly totally correct for what we're doing, so good to go. This is our generic ignition switch. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. There we go. This is a marine ignition switch, or so it was advertised, so it's supposed to be waterproof. One thing that I learned on the diesel Sears tractor is a regular advanced auto ignition switch is susceptible to rusting and internal failure because of water. So we found this for 15 bucks. We're gonna give that a shot. So hopefully this one will last a bit longer than the one that was in there.
They're also very acceptable to ice cream droppings, and they will ruin the switch. So this is ice cream proof, which means you can rip your ice cream cones in the middle of summer and be good.
I'll let you guess what's in here. So we're gonna need a pump for this thing.
For our ice cream machine.
For the ice cream machine.
For more cones.
For more power, baby. So this is a another Amazon special. This was like 20 bucks, and it's like 2 to 4 PSI. Need that. Fucking hammer it in there, bud.
Be very, very quiet. We are recording. More file.
So when we drove this thing last weekend, our top speed according to GPS was like 13.
You didn't drive it. We fucking sent it.
Fucking sent it, Caht. So just based on outside diameters, not necessarily like effective diameter. This is 5.5 inches. This is 7 1/4. So that's the difference here. So 5.5, and then all the way out to the edge there is 7 1/4. 1 1/4 or 1 3/4 difference. So this is about 32% bigger, and according to my calculations, should put us around 18 to 19 miles an hour, which is going to be plenty for what we're going to be doing. Oh, we got our new 780 series clutch on, and everything's reassembled, and we should be able, yep, there's your belt slip. Perfect. So here's a riddle for you. What do you do when you already bought 2 golf carts and you need more parts?
Buy another one.
Buy another one. That's correct. Well, I didn't need any more crap, but it was too good of a deal to pass up. So, got this thing. So it was about 6 weeks ago that this thing came over here in a trailer in pretty sorry shape, and now we got another one. So this is a E-Z-GO workhorse, which is basically the twin to that thing, but more like truck oriented. So it's got it's lifted from the factory with a different axle. It's got I think heavier duty leaf springs with bump stops in the back. And basically the deal with this was I went over to look at it for some parts and wound up buying the whole thing because it was too good of a deal to pass up. So that's how I wound up with it. So the plan for now is to strip what we need off of it and use that for the diesel cart. So we're gonna pull this thing in and start getting to work on it. Update time. So far we've gotten pretty lucky with these parts. So here's the fuel tank, and even though this is going to eventually change to a boost tube, you can still see the fitment is pretty good. It does hit right there, but for the time being we're just going to space it out. Got the shifter mounted. Look at that! It's freaking cut out to fit around the starter solenoid. Like, figure that one out. So I'm in the process right now of removing our axle brace to install the shift cables, and then we'll have to build a new one of them. But, and this is kind of the recurring theme here, so we need a piece like this, and it's like, boom, we got it in stock, kid. Because we got the freaking parts cart deal of the century. So Kyle's got the fuel gauge ripped out. It's floating around here somewhere. I don't think he's got it. It's gonna go in here. The horn works. Figure that one out. We got our choke cable mount, which is gonna be for the decompression valve. So this parts cart is just like a freaking gold mine. Got this awesome bumper, got this front receiver hitch, and we also got this back receiver hitch, and they're both full 2-inch, which is awesome. So we're just kicking away at this thing. And it's like I was telling Kyle earlier, it's really fun to engineer stuff and build stuff yourself and solve problems and all that crap. But it's also really nice to just use like good quality factory parts that are designed for a specific application. Stuff just goes together that much easier. So just chipping away at it. Another update. I'm gonna try not to repeat myself from the last one because honestly I don't know what I said last time. So Pahts Caht just keeps on giving. We were able to get this horn out of it, which works. Beep. We verified operation of the fuel gauge, which is awesome. That's like the thing I'm most excited about. So we got this ignition switch starting to take place. And the fuel gauge as well. We got the fuel system pretty much done. So we got our little piece of draw straw tube down in the tank. Got our fuel pump and this fuel return with this nice bulkhead fitting that Kyle assembled and all that sort of good thing. So basically you got your fuel through the filter, through the pump, down to the injection pump, and then the return at the injector back into the tank. So that's good to go. Got the intake ripped off of here because tomorrow we're gonna maybe take a look at putting the turbo back on this thing. What else? Oh, we got the battery hold down installed, which works pretty good, but there's still a little bit of movement in the battery this way. Nothing that's really super concerning. We got the shift cable or the shifter assembly kind of hanging in place there, with the shift cables down to the axle there. Still need to adjust them. And then we got our choke assembly, which is going to be the decomp valve, just kind of mocked up. Pushed out the old cart, the Pahts Caht, and we brought in the body for the diesel cart. And it's already got the hole cut out for the shifter and also for the clutch, so that's good to go. Let's see what else. Oh, we got the front receiver hitch installed, so that's good to go. So we're cooking right along here. This thing's gonna be mint in no time. Say that again.
You forgot to mention that I'm working on the electrical.
Kyle Talbot is working on the electrical. You gotta give credit where it's due, and big props to Kyle on the wiring harness work so far. Thank God he's doing it and not me, because if I did it, it wouldn't work. All right, Master Talbot, walk us through this harness.
Can't give you my secrets.
Come on, what do we got? Give us, what's the cliff notes on it?
So, we got the key switch up front. We got battery power going up to the key switch. Key on power feeds the fuel level gauge and then feeds back, and the key power controls this relay in the back. And we did that to keep any additional load that we put on, if lights or whatever's going to be powered by ignition source, keep the load off of the switch, and that way all that switch has to do is trigger over the relay, and all the load gets put onto the relay. So once the relay is triggered by the switch, it powers this fuse distribution block. And for us, we have one wire right now that's fed to the lift pump and is also tied off to this reverse switch. So if we ever want to put reverse lights on it or a backup beep or whatever it may be, we'll be all set with that. And we should be good. We got the wires ran over to the sending unit there. We got a signal wire, which is the yellow one, fed back to the gauge. The one on the side is a ground that gets grounded to the chassis. And I think that's it for the electrical. Nicely done, dude.
So a lot of the parts from the workhorse with the longer wheelbase do carry over. Some of them, we can tell there's differences between them because of the wheelbase difference. So an example of that is these shifter cables. So what they do is they run from the shifter mechanism over here somewhere over to the axle, and they push and pull on this little yoke to select your forward or reverse gear. So ordinarily these would run just kind of somewhere along here, but because of this longer wheelbase, they wanted to kind of droop and stuff. So what we did is we offset them and welded in this piece of like 3-inch C-channel, and that way they have a little kind of tunnel that they can go in, and they won't ride on the ground. So it's not ideal, they do hang down kind of low, so we'll have to see once we get out into the woods and stuff if they are, if it's not working to have these on here, I'll just order a set of the correct ones. But in the spirit of frugality, we're trying to use as many parts from the donor cart as possible. So we just flipped it up on its side and welded on this piece of C-channel, and pretty much all that's left is I have a plan, Kyle and I have a plan for what we're gonna do to secure the axle, which I'm not gonna tell you guys about because it's too cool to tell you about. But we're gonna kind of just temporarily shore it up now, take this thing for a test rip, see how she does. Just putting the finishing touches on the mechanical side of this. We got our shifter installed, seems to be working pretty good. We got the last of the wiring pretty much all set. Yeah. I gotta change my shorts now. Everything looks pretty good on that front, so now what we're gonna do is see if we can test fit the body on it and see how good or bad everything lines up, specifically the shifter, and then we still have to route our choke cable for the decompression valve.